So how after engineering, how I think you worked in football initially, then hockey as well. So how did that transition happen? I mean, yeah, we would want to know how did that turn out for you?
So when I was doing my engineering, I'd started a sports website by the name of Essentially Sports. So I'd run that for 3 years, but then in my final year, I got into placements and everything, so I had to give it up. So for good 3 years, I had run a sports blog and a website which covered a lot of sports. We covered F1, we covered cricket, we covered football, we covered other Indian sports, hockey. We also got to interview a lot of athletes. So I remember interviewing Yuki Bhamri in 2015, at his home.
Right.
So I always had this interest for cricket and tennis, but with the website that I started taking a little more interest into athletics and the even sports like badminton, where India would play, in the Asian Games, the Commonwealth Games, and the Olympics. So by the time I had done my engineering, I had some knowledge of each and every sport that India sort of plays. I don't know that much about chess, and don't know that much about F1, but I still know which driver, like who all are the drivers there. So by the time I had done my engineering, I had sort of burnt. I'd started. I wouldn't say I had burnt my hands into this field of sports industry, but I'd worked for good 2-3 years in understanding how sports media was working. Right, we covered a few events here and there, so that is how it was. But once I got into my engineering job, 2 months into it, I realized that analytics and coding is not for me. So I started working with another startup. It was a football league. It was an amateur football league in Delhi NCR, which then became a semi-professional league with Adidas being the main sponsor. We had Ranvijay Singh as the brand ambassador. So that worked. I worked there for a year, and then I got a job offer from Mumbai from a company by the name of Sports Interactive. So they were into sports digital media. So that was
Right.
another avenue which I had not explored before. I had been active on social media, but not really to understand how social media of a big brand works. So over
Right.
there, I'd worked with Hockey India and Delhi Capitals. I was
Right.
actually involved in the rebranding, from Delhi Daredevils to Delhi Capitals, and
Right.
the whole build up to the 2019 season, and the work that went into the 2019 season. And after that, it was a quite a journey, and it was an experience of a lifetime. I think you can say that. Uh,
Right.
a lot of hard work had been put in, a lot of long hours, but all of it, felt vindicated once Delhi Capitals had qualified for the playoffs after a gap of 7 years, after 2012. So
Right.
the whole work seemed vindicated, and we also got a lot of love on social media, the way the team was being managed, how everything was being done off the field. So, like I said, quite a journey, very hectic, and what helped was that the team that I was working with, it loved sport, I loved the sport, and since I was from Delhi, there was a special connection anyway, of the team wanting to do well. So yeah, that's how it came along. So really
Right.
happy with that journey, and I think it's something which only a few fortunate people can experience.
Right. That's wonderful. I mean, that like you said, sounds like a journey of a lifetime, and we'll delve deeper into that slightly more very soon. We'll ask you something else before that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you spoke about how it all started from 2003. So from 2003 up till now, which has actually been your fondest memory of a cricket match?
I'd say the 2007 T20 World Cup was probably the one that I'd celebrated the hardest, because it was on the back of the disappointment of 2003 and 2007 World Cup exit, and nobody had given us a chance. And the way the whole match panned out, the whole campaign was, because even in 2007 Australia were a force to reckon with. And going into the 2007 World Cup, everybody, I remember reading previews in Times of India, and there was this line when they were previewing Australian team. So their verdict was, are there any doubts that they would reach the finals? So I remember that line particularly, and I I remember being ecstatic after we had beaten Australia in that semi-final, because at some point of time during that game, especially how our first half had gone, 60 for 2 of 10 overs,
Right.
it did look like that we would crash out in the semi-finals. And even when Hayden and Simons were batting in that final, right up till Hayden was dismissed, followed by Simons being bowled by Harbhajan, no,
Mm-hmm.
by Irfan, and then Michael Clark being bowled by Harbhajan, it did look like that we would slip away. but the comeback in that game was brilliant. And then I remember Afridi being dismissed and Pakistan being six down, and at that time, everybody had thought that okay, the game is in the hand, and then it felt like
Right.
slipping away. So just that whole journey, or that whole experience was, as a fan only, was not of the 2007 World Cup, T20 World Cup alone. It came on the back of the disappointment of 2007 ODI World Cup, which made it all the more special, because we did have a good team, I feel, in 2007, and a lot of people do
Right.
talk about how Sachin batting at number 4 was one of the reasons. But as I understand the game better now, and as we see that number 4 is probably the toughest spot to ace, as India's been finding ever since Yuvraj Singh is gone off the boil. I think that maybe it could have worked, but it was just that we had two bad days, and Bangladesh had a very good day, and you know that's how it works. So 2007
Right.
T20 World Cup, I think, is right up there.
I think the
Right. I
2007
think
T20 World Cup was right up there for us also. That was one moment when we actually started following cricket as kids. I think we were
Yeah.
7 years
right.
old back then. And there was
I,
Yuvraj Singh hitting those sixes in that World Cup. And that was one highlight moment for all of us.
I was also 11 years old, so that was probably the first big tournament victory that a lot of people from the generation of 90s probably had experienced, because
Right.
so I think just for that reason, that it was the first victory that we had seen, it's special.
Right. So, Gurkirat, you spoke about social media just now. You managed to build your own cricketing community, if I must say, on Twitter. You are very active on that platform, and that is where we found you as well. What are your thoughts about that platform? Do you think it is bringing together cricket fans? And very recently, you made a statement that being called a good Indian cricket fan is perhaps the highest praise you can get on the app. What did you mean by that? Do you say that in context to how things have become today, or just how the platform is? What do you think about Twitter as a platform for getting together cricket fans?
So this is a very layered question, and will require 3-4 layers of answers. So it's going to be long. So one thing is
Sure.
that you know when we were younger, I remember this very clearly. So as somebody who wanted to know and learn about the game a lot more, the idea you could learn more about the game was watching pre-shows and post match shows, right? I remember matches beginning at 2:30, and I would sit in front of my TV at 1:30, because I knew that 1 hour is going to tell me a lot about the game. And similarly, if the match would get over at 10, I would not get up before 11, till the time the whole post match show was done. And there was a reason to it, because there was so much that you could learn about the game. If you remember, I used to be particularly very, very excited when the matches used to be on ESPN Star, because everyone who had a good understanding of the game would be there, and they would discuss techniques in various kinds. They would also discuss about their old playing days, how the sledging used to happen. So just as a fan, there was a lot to learn. However, it's disappointing to say, but in the last 5 years, I'd say 5 or 6 years, the pre and post match shows are hardly anything for a fan to learn. It's just mixed too much with Bollywood movies promotion. And
Right.
something that actually really disappoints me is, you see somebody like a Graham Swan dancing in the studio before a India New Zealand game, or an international game. I don't like that, even if it's before an IPL game, but it is still understandable to some extent. But before an India game, I don't India New Zealand game, I don't like it. I genuinely think that it's an opportunity lost for to make fans more educated about the game. And that is why I've stopped watching these pre and post match shows, which used to be a source of great learning. And not only that, even on news channels, the half an hour shows used to be good. They would tell you about something. There used to be a Sandeep Patil on Star News. There used to be a Madan Lal on Aaj Tak. So at that time, even what they spoke used to give a fan a lot of knowledge. But today, you see all the former cricketers that come, they have an agenda of sorts. You see so many cricketers on a particular channel come and bash Dhoni for no good reason. It's that evident that they're speaking out of bitterness. Then there is some other cricketer who will one day wake up, and if he wakes up on the right side of his bed, he's going to criticize Dhoni. If he's going to wake up on the left side of his bed, he's going to criticize Virat, and just come up with absurd theories. Someday he's going to say that the team deserves credit, and then the next day he'll say that the captain has to take a blame. So
Right.
there is not much for a fan to learn about the game just from the television alone. So I think from that aspect, Twitter is a place. If you follow the right people, if you follow the right handles, if you follow the right analysts, there is a lot that you can know about the game, particularly the shortest format. I still think that the shortest format is one which requires a great deal of analysis, because the longer the format, the quality is eventually going to show. But the shortest format allows the quality to be covered through the tactics. And I don't think that mainstream experts or analysts sort of understand how the T20 format works. And for that, I think you should be on that platform or even Reddit. You're going to see a lot of statistic pieces which will add to your understanding of the game. So that is one. That is why somebody should be on the app. Two, how I have built my community is being same. I've been on the platform for now 9-10 years, but it's been only the last year where I've had a following and people have started to relate with me and sort of understand and agree with me. So and keep talking about the game. Someday some video or some tweet of yours is going to hit, and people are start going to agree with you. So it's a process. It's
Right.
unlike any other social media. So on Facebook you can have friends and have a big community. On Instagram you can add your friends, but Twitter, it's purely opinionated. So you need to be really good with what you are typing out there or sending out there for people to have a reason to follow you, because it it started out as a platform which only required 140 characters, right? And you had to be
Right.
precise in what you wanted to say. 280 characters help a lot, but yes, you still need to add a certain point and add certain value to somebody's understanding of anything. It could be any topic, not necessarily cricket. It could be political, it could be environmental, it could be something to related to the culture. So a lot of things are there. Lastly, saying that how being a Indian cricket fan is the greatest praise, because what has happened is, with the advent of social media and the PR teams of various cricketers, etc., etc., and then IPL teams, etc., etc., there's a lot of division, right? There's a lot of division. You see a lot of Viratians, Rohitians, Dhonians, Dhonitaj, etc., whatever you want to call it. So the camps that have increased just for a player have become very toxic, and you don't have that many people who just say, okay, I am an Indian cricket fan. If Virat is to be criticized, I am going to criticize him. If Dhoni is to be criticized, I will criticize him. If Rohit is to be criticized, I will criticize him, and I will praise all of them equally as per the merit of the game that I understand. But a lot of people just have this agenda that they're going to bring down a particular cricketer by praising another, and I don't think it does justice to anyone. It If you're being a Virat Kohli fan, and if you are criticizing or bringing down Rohit Sharma, uh, you are not adding to Virat Kohli's legacy in any way, because Virat Kohli himself says that Rohit Sharma has that extra 1.5 second.
Right.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
when the person you are worshipping or idling, he is recognizing that somebody is good enough, then I don't understand why you would want to bring down that person, right? The other thing, again, similarly, no sane Rahul Dravid fan will say that Rahul Dravid was a better test batsman than Sachin Tendulkar. Even Rahul Dravid doesn't say it, right? And by similar measure, no Sachin Tendulkar fan is going to say that Rahul Dravid was a mug, right? Because Sachin also admitted how much Rahul Dravid helped him in his career. So these are the things that fans need to understand and be mature about. It's okay. All cricketers cannot be same. All of them have a different role to play, and similarly, all of them should be admired differently. There is no competition. See, a lot of teams, would die to have batsmen of the caliber of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. We are very lucky to have both of them, right? And similarly, a lot of teams will die to have a batsman like Virat Kohli and Jinkya Rahane and Pujara. So there shouldn't be any toxicity. And the worst part of this toxicity is that the families are being involved. It's a pathetic thing. Uh,
Correct.
it shows that you probably don't have enough respect for women. That is one. Two, you're placing some very petty interests above something very disgraceful. And three, it is not a reflective of the person you're saying you're a ideal, or you're a bhakt of, or you're a worshipper of. So it doesn't take you anywhere, and it's extremely
Right.
toxic. I Just recently I remember I tweeted the day Yuzvendra Chahal got married, I said that the biggest gift that the cricketing community can give to Yuzvendra Chahal is ensuring that Dhanashri is not trending on the day Yuzvendra Chahal is playing. Because if that is happening, then you know that you're going nowhere as a society, and it's something that is extremely toxic. But for that, the app is not to be blamed. The people are to be blamed because such toxicity is available on each and every platform.
Right.
So
I think,
that
yeah.
that is where my my line came from, that being recognized as an Indian cricket fan is probably the highest praise that you can get on that platform, because very easily you can be labeled as a Dhoni hater, you can be labeled as a Virat hater, you can be labeled as anything, just by criticizing. So yes, there needs to be a lot more tolerance, which is missing.
I think that is one of the most nuanced take we've heard in a long, long time. And you hit the nail on the head because such conversations are missing in today's time. Because, like you said, there have been created so many factions, unnecessary divisions. And, like you said, it's not the app. Maybe these divisions were there 10 to 12 years back or 15 years back. It's just that we didn't have a platform to put it on. And now the things like clout, retweets, likes, people are just going after those kind of things, and that just amplifies it, right?
There's another thing I'll tell you, which is, and I saw this in the last 2 days. So admittedly, Ajinkya Rahane has done very well in this test match, both as a batsman and as a captain. But verified handles saying that Virat Kohli doesn't rate spin, or he wouldn't have started with Ashwin, or bowled him as first change, is absurd, because he
Right,
did that in Edgbaston in 2018, right? And
right,
Ashwin himself spoke very highly of Virat. If somebody has seen his interview where he speaks that how sometimes Virat uh, sets a different field which Ashwin doesn't agree with, but it works, right? And
right.
people saying that Virat Kohli and Shastri are not allowing Ajinkya Rahane to sort of come to the fore, or express himself, is absurd, because a lot of people have been calling for Ajinkya Rahane's exclusion on the basis of how he's been in the last 2-3 years, except for them dropping Ajinkya in South Africa, which I feel was a wrong move. They have backed him to the hilt, and there has never been any statement from Virat uh, about Ajinkya or Pujara. In fact, before this series, he said that Hanuma Vihari is somebody he looks forward to because he has a technique. So
Right.
verified handles who have a sense of owners, who have a sense of responsibility, tweeting such nonsense just comes across as running an agenda, which doesn't help.
Right. And that is where fans like you stand up, because it is important to put the facts out there, right? Because it is very easy to get blown away by what verified handles are saying and add more toxicity to it. But it takes someone to actually stand up and say that, no, sir, what you're saying is wrong. Watch the matches, back up what you're saying with facts. So I think that is very important. And that's why Twitter needs and cricket needs more fans like you, sir. So that is a very nuanced take from you. Yeah.
I think, like you spoke about the haters, like Dhoni haters, Kohli haters. I think a lot of people have said that that's come from the start of IPL. Like since the IPL has started, all these divisions of teams. So, what do you think about the IPL in general? Like, how has that impacted cricket? And do you think the IPL has actually led to all these internal player rivalries, etc., or do you think IPL has actually helped cricket?
See, I don't. It's sort of a both, because I don't see internal rivalries as particularly bad, because if you've heard stories, there have been enough stories that Wasim Akram and Waqar Younis didn't see eye to eye, but you never saw anything on the field. So Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli don't need to be the best of friends.
Right.
Honestly, they just need to do their roles perfectly for the team to do well, and as long as they're doing well, it is fine. I, I'm sure a lot of people have worked in different organizations where you are not best of friends, or even good friends with a lot of your colleagues, but you still need to be civil and get together and work to the common target that you have. So even if IPL has created some internal rivalries, it should be okay. The fans should still be wishing for the team to do well, and not be having, okay, just because Rohit Sharma is not playing in the first two test matches, I want the team to lose, and they should win the next two test matches when Rohit Sharma comes into the side. That is such an immature statement. It's actually stupid. It's like, why would you wish for your team to do too poorly, right? So that is one thing which needs to go out. Of course, IPL has made fans more passionate. It has made camps, which is fine to an extent. It's okay to wish a certain player to do better than the other. That is fine. We all have favorites. It's like it's okay. But to wish that other player does poorly is something which we should come out of. It doesn't reflect well on us. Even, I was just mentioning Wasim and Wakar. Mahesh Bhupati and Leander Pace also didn't get along well for a long period of time, but they were still representing India in the Davis Cup, and they won a few titles in the Grand Slams as well. So they don't need to be the best of friends. All the 11 players don't need to be the best of friends. They need to be the best of colleagues and best of the best of team players on the field. As long as they're doing that, it is completely fine. So I think the toxicity is not down onto the IPL, but to the nature that we have. And secondly, as far as it's helping cricket, I think it's a no-brainer. You talk to any cricketer who's played in the IPL, whether it be a fringe player or a big player, all of them will mostly have good thing to say. It's the biggest advantage that I think it has given is it has made the fringe cricketers more secure. You know, somebody like a Swapnil Asnodkar, after having one bumper season, is able to sort out his life for the next years ahead. Kamran Khan, there are so many such players. Paul Valthati. Apart from that, it has obviously unearthed a lot of good talents. You wouldn't have seen a story like Praveen Tambe come to the fore. Then you
Right.
have English cricketers who talk about how the IPL has helped them improve their game, and the biggest names: Kevin Peterson, Joss Butler, Ben Stokes. So it has done more. It obviously has more pros to the game than it has cons. It does have cons, but they are there with sort of everything that you do in your life. I mean, uh, I think anyone would struggle to find something which is 100% positive, right? Or anything which is 100% negative. So
Right.
it, you have to live with the cons as long as the pros are outweighing them.
Right. So from the IPL, let's again delve a bit into your story. How was the entire experience working with Delhi Capitals? You gave us a brief, but what was the process like? I mean, rebranding an entire team. I remember back then there was a lot of talks about how changing the name won't help, changing the jersey won't matter that much. But somehow, I mean, the team changed a bit, but leadership Shreyas Iyer took over. Ponting was the same coach. So what changed? Do you think social media, I mean, does that create a positive image for the team? Does that reflect back onto the team? And how did you go about the process? I mean, did you engage more with fans? What was the process like? It's a really interesting one for us.
So it's not that the social media is going to improve the performances on field. If anything, if the performances are better on the field, it helps the social media brand grow, because ultimately it's a cricket team, right?
Right,
You need performances. You can create as much content as possible, and you know how Indian fans are, or how in general sports fans are. You can have the best video, but you will get abused if the team is doing badly on the field. So if the team is doing badly on the field, nothing is going to help. Everything else only shines when the team is doing well on the field. As far as the challenge is concerned, I remember, uh, the very first the very first day when the name came out, Delhi Capitals, there was a lot of trolling. People said that, earlier Mumbai Indians had the worst name, but now Delhi Capitals have the worst name. But the thing with these names are, if you do well, the name sticks. If the team
right,
hadn't done well, then there would have been a lot more jokes, but gladly there aren't. So it was just about, making a new start. For everyone else, it was probably the 12th season. For us, it was the first season, because we were making a new start. As you're saying about, engaging with the fans, yes, that increased. We had a certain tonality on social media where we were asking people to sort of wear the blue of the team and come to the stadium. And a lot of credit goes to JSW for this, and to the company that I was working with. They were very helpful, they were very supportive, and JSW did have a vision, which helps when you've run two other games. They had Bengaluru FC, and they also have a team in Pro Kabaddi League, so that helps. So engagement with fans obviously, increased. And then, like I said, as the performances kept coming in, the fans started coming back, they started loving the team, and that's how everything revolved. So the very first game, Rishabh Pant had a 78 of 26 balls in Wankhede. It was a
right,
great start. And then I remember there was this game then there was the super over game in Kotla. So everybody was very happy and ecstatic that the team didn't choke. But then after that high, there was the extreme low of that game in Mohali, where the team couldn't chase 23 of 23, and lost from there. So I remember that day everyone said that, okay, it's Delhi Daredevils are back. It's not Delhi Capitals anymore, and there were a lot of jokes, but it is going to happen. So again, with teams like RCB, Delhi Capitals, and Kings 11 Punjab, because there is no trophy, even at the slightest of mistakes, is going to be trolling. But as fans, as people who sort of are involved in the brand in some way, not really running the brand, you have to live with those days, and that is the beauty of working with teams like this. If you're working for a Chennai Super Kings or a Mumbai Indians, it's relatively easy because you don't get trolled even after a bad performance because you have the previous past and history to back you up, right?
Right.
Mumbai Indians have 5 titles, Chennai Super Kings have 3 titles, 8 finals, they have 2 Champions League titles. So the trolling is never that much. Plus, with
Mhm.
teams like these, the fan base is so big that any other team that tries to troll them, the fans will take over. So
Right.
as a Delhi Capitals, which has finished bottom of the table so many times, you don't have that liberty. So you have to tread carefully on that part because you know when trolling starts on social media and everybody has seen it, it can sometimes get extremely out of hand. And
Right.
it has happened to the biggest and the best of them. So when you are eighth at the bottom of the league, then you can imagine what can. I remember Alia. If anyone remembers Alia Bhatt getting trolled so much because she didn't know who was the president of India. So somebody like Alia Bhatt can, then a sports team can also be trolled. So you have to tread that path carefully. And like I said again before, a lot of credit goes to JSW and the company I was working with. They were, extremely supportive and they understood the job on hand. I was just somebody, a part of that process, and I had to follow a few footsteps, which we did, and it just made the whole journey very memorable.
Right, and it has been a stunning turnaround. I mean, it was not a flash in the pan. This year they finished finalist. Hopefully next year they lift the trophy. So I think it's been very fascinating because suddenly from nowhere, 1 year and they've turned things around. And like you spoke, the tonality that changed. We saw more of, I think, an affectionate kind of bonding between the content team and the fans. So I think that makes a difference, especially in the IPL, because like you said, it's a lot about PR, a lot about engaging. So great job there. I think that's a
another
job very well done.
another another thing that I want to add. So this year, when the anthems came out, if you remember the day RCB's anthem came out, a lot of RCB fans were not happy because
Right.
they said that we are a team which is from Karnataka, so the anthem should have Kannada language, right? Just how CSK's Whistle Podu has the flavor of Tamil. Kings 11 Punjab had that Punjabi flavor. This Mumbai Indians anthem also has a lot of Mumbai lingo. It's not necessarily Marathi, but it has Marathi words and the Mumbai lingo that is there, which helps build a fan connect. So this is where when Roar Macha came out last time, and the other song that we released this year, Delhi Capitals. So it
Mhm.
had that tonality and it had that feel. It had that visuals of the city, which help people connect. So teams are finding the management of all teams are finding out that building a local connect is very important, right? You have to make a connect not with the performances. You have to make a connect with the identity. So that is something that really helps.
Right. Wonderful. Yeah.
So something on a more lighter and interesting note. So I would want to know from you, if you had to pick three players, one to bat, bowl, and field for your life, who would be your three picks? One bowler, one batsman, and one fielder.
Batsman AB de Villiers. I think nobody has his range. You could argue statistically, you could argue that there are better batsmen than him, without a doubt. Of course, uh, his T20I numbers aren't great, but the range that he possesses is something that no one else can. I mean, uh, scoring a 30 ball 100 to batting 220 balls for 33 runs, and
Right.
that innings in Delhi where he played 250 odd balls for 34 or 40 odd runs is something that nobody else can. I genuinely feel that. So batting, definitely, if you're just talking of today's times, if historically there could be different people, but in today's times it is just Bumrah. Fielder is an interesting one. There are a lot of good fielders. So uh, fielder is actually a very interesting one. I see. The name that is coming to my mind is Ravindra Jadeja. I'm trying to think of other people. So there's Manish Pandey who's coming to my mind. I think he's India's second best fielder. There's Umesh Yadav who's coming to my mind. I think he's the best fast bowler fielder that India has had. I'm thinking of fielders
Right.
from outside. There's Faf du Plessis, which is
Mhm.
in my mind. and who else? There's Kyron Pollard. So mind is wandering between Kyron Pollard, Faf du Plessis, and Ravindra Jadeja. Who do I go for? I think I'd probably go for Kyron Pollard.
Right.
Kyron Pollard is somebody who's been more consistent, but yeah, so Kyron Pollard.
Can pluck a catch out of nowhere, right? Pollard with the range and height he has, incredible.
His reach is incredible. I think that is where Ravindra Jadeja falls short, but I think he's a better ground fielder. He's probably a better
Right.
ground fielder, and you'd probably. So it also depends. Somebody at point it would probably be Ravindra Jadeja, but if it's uh, in the outfield, then Karen Pollard is the better fielder. Faf du Plessis, I think, is a mix of both. He's better than Karen Pollard inside the circle, but I don't think he's as good as Ravindra Jadeja. He's better than Ravindra Jadeja outside the circle, but not as good as Karen Pollard. So
Right.
there is no objectivity to this, but yeah, it's something which is very subjective. I mean, I don't see how you can statistically sort of pick a better fielder.
Right, makes sense. So I think that was a wonderful conversation, Gurkirat. I think we've got a brilliant perspective. To be very honest, I have never spoken to a cricket fan because everyone has biases. We have biases, but to put that on the side and speak through a clear prism has been absolutely wonderful. And we hope you continue supporting the Indian team with as much vigor, continue with your sporting obsession as you still do. And we need more fans like you. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Thank you. Just want to add
Thank
one
you.
more thing. Biases are there. So even when you sometimes do feel that some player is not doing well, I think it is okay to admit that okay, the player has proven you wrong, and you've been proven wrong, and he's done better than what you expected. I think it's a good quality to possess, and I think this is something which I genuinely like about Sanjay Manjrekar as well. Yes, his takes have been wrong, but he's been the first to admit it that okay, he's been left surprised because see. Uh, Apart from skills, cricket is also a game of luck and game of chance.
Right,
There are going to be, there are going to be days when you are not going to have your best days as a player, but you will still be able to score runs and pick wickets, right?
right,
So, so if that can happen to somebody who's playing on the field, then your observations can also go wrong at some point of time. And I think it's fine to admit it. There's no harm in doing it. The best of people have got it wrong, so
right.
I
Agree.
don't feel.
Of course, hindsight is also a very beautiful thing because what you say is based on facts, but any player can turn out on the day and prove you wrong. I think
Yeah,
that's the
and
beauty of
and
the
what
game.
what you've seen till a certain point of time,
Right,
a player can
right,
have
right,
a marked change in his strategy, in his approach, and it can have an effect on his game. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things happen. So with hindsight, sometimes you can look like an idiot, but
right,
you should be okay to admitting it. Okay, I've looked like an idiot because if you start thinking too much as to what if your opinion doesn't hold true, say
mm,
after a player performs, then you will never be able to have form an opinion or have an opinion.
right, right.
So that is
Absolutely.
something we all should not think much about. You have an opinion, you state it, you back it up with something. If proven wrong, then you admit it. Okay, I've been proven wrong, I know better now.
Right, absolutely. Again, a beautiful perspective once again on an ending note. Thank you so much, Gurkirat. It was an absolute blast of a conversation. When we talk with fans, it's always a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ishan, and thank you. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.
The Cricket Company Podcast.